I'm gonna go back to some regular analysis. Um, this game really impressed me when I was a kid. Uh, Kasparov in 1978 was probably 2250, but somehow he was playing in USSR Championship. I don't know, but you can't play this G6 variation against Kasparov. So I guess this is. I mean, it is theory, but okay. Let's see what Kasparov does against this sort of laid back setup. This is the kind of thing you don't want to play. But who knew? Who knew what Kasparov was in '78? Palatnik was probably a little older than him. Um, Kasparov immediately going after f7 and then building a big chain. And now he has the f file, so he can castle and put pressure on f7. I imagine Palatnik should play. See, the thing is, you want to put pressure on d4 right away. It's not so simple because playing c5 yourself you give yourself so many weaknesses, specifically the d6 square. You already have weakness on the f6 square. Your f7 pawn is a little soft. You can't create another weakness on d6. I mean, this already looks incredibly holy. I mean, he goes for c5. But, yeah, he just castles. I mean, there's a lot of holes. I mean, you could trade the queens. You could play queen takes d4 and trade the queens. But then you lose f7 pawn. And that's terrible. Right? Knight f7 comes and then knight d6 is coming. It might be the best of a bad situation. I wonder if it is. I wonder if it is the best of a bad situation. Not just castle they prefer. Yeah, you can. I mean, even rook f7 comes. I was thinking bishop e5 though. Nah, he'll play knight f7 and then maybe you get to castle there. I mean, I am curious, but we'll look at that and we'll look at that a little later. But it doesn't look good off the top of my head. But I would think it could be the best of a bad situation. He castles, and now, if you try to take it now, you're getting bishop g5, and then this knight plunks on f6, and your king is very drafty. It's not a pleasant king. Whenever you see a position like this, and look at the all the pieces on the left side of the board. I mean, this is one of the problems with the Alekhine is the knight travels around to b6, and then it wishes it would back on the king side somehow. So there it goes. You're rotating knight f6, knight d5, knight b6, knight d7. So if you have to do an operation like this, the opening's probably not so good. Bishop e3. Surprised. What was bishop g5 here? Just curious. I mean, it looked like I would just play bishop g5 for sure. Let's see if it's the number one or number two or not there. It likes Kasparov. It likes Kasparov. Let's go to analysis board. Not even in the mix. Not even in the mix. I wonder why. I guess it's because he plays queen b6 and he starts putting pressure on on the d4 pawn. But okay, we won't worry about that now. We'll investigate that later. Okay, so here we are. Back in. It's good to run through the moves so you memorize them. Knight g5 important. Knight e4. Bishop e3. He comes back. Now he plays here. When the pressure is off of d4, then he does it. Now, off the top of my head, bishop takes g5 looks very scary. Because bishop g5, hg5, knight g5. Like, how are you stopping queen h5 and queen h7? You might ask yourself that. Well, the answer is after knight takes g5, right? He has knight takes e5. And if you take back on e5, well, he trades the queens. And he's okay. And if he goes queen h5, you have queen d4. Check. Very important. And when the king moves away, queen d3. Always remember this queen d3 maneuver covers h7, covers the whole diagonal. And there's no way. Then he just fades back to g6. Otherwise, bishop g5 would be probably game over. And Palatnik is a strong player, and Kasparov didn't take it. So you know it doesn't work. Okay, so drafty king. All the pawns moved up. They can't go back. Hard to suggest any productive plan. Honestly, I mean, you can't even think about. You would like to play f5. Your e6 pawn is hanging. I mean, you don't want to play f5, but you might have to at some point. So he defended this, and honestly, maybe you should think about playing f5 just to try to, because he's going to have to play en passant, I think. Or maybe he can play knight d6 and just continue the position. That's possible too. You know, just to play knight d6 and bring the bishop back to b3. But if you just leave yourself with this backward f pawn, I envision rook a3 at some point coming also. Again, knight b5, like rook a3. You know, so take care of one detail with knight f4s. You know, some bishop e3 business. Or rook a3, rook g3, rook a3, knight b5, rook g3. Bishop e3. I mean, you can imagine with the rook on g3 and rook on f1, and all these pieces aiming at the king, it just looks terrible. And what is, yeah, okay, bishop e3. Simple move. And now he took it. Because the queen's coming to h5, you know, and it's difficult to guard this h7 square. Very difficult. So maybe the best of a bet, this knight h8 is probably a blunder, and you should probably try f5 or maybe rook to d8, rook a to d8 to put some pressure on the e, or maybe just take on e5 a couple of times to try to alleviate the pressure and just, you know, I mean, you're losing, but you might not be suffering as bad. But I think f5 should be tried. Knight h8, just crazy. Can't imagine. I mean, maybe he was thinking he would tempt him into doing this, and maybe he felt he had some defense. But Maybe he didn't see this. And now the d5 square is loose. This is very important. And yeah, he took this. Took if he takes with the pawn, it's knight d5 on top of everything. Then what do you do? I don't know. I mean, if you take with the, he has to take with the rook. If we do it in analysis, ef5 knight d5 is just like winning a queen. He can't even move the queen. Also, e6 is coming. The attack is just, so at this point it's already gone. Man, open the lines. And now, see many ways to win. The computer likes knight f4. We'll hide this. And Kasparov chose rook a3. Look at that. Just so you have no shenanigans downtown. Sign of things to come. The 1978 2200 player. I think in USSR, word was out on the street. It gets out pretty fast when there's a talented kid around. And they just throw him to the wolves. And then, he wins the tournament. Going back to this position. Some people have a natural talent for things. Some people just have natural abilities. Hikaru Nakamura talks a mile a minute while he's playing like that. He's the only person in the world who can do that, like at that level, I think. He can literally talk for 8 hours straight and still play chess like that. Analyze so clearly. Okay. I would be inclined, to be honest. I am curious. I understand it's like a nightmare. But I understand it's a nightmare. But I might be inclined to play this way. If I saw this attack was just coming. So rook f7 is better. Yeah, because knight f7 I thought I would castle, right? I think I mentioned that. So rook f7 is the way. But then I would be inclined. It's under a pawn, and you don't get this hellish attack, and the queens are gone. And it might be the best of a bad situation because the other one is just, pillar to post. It's blitz. You're getting blitzkrieg. Okay, so what's the story? If knight f7 castles, knight h6, bishop h6, rook f1, king f1, knight a, things get traded. Yes, you lose your dark bishop. And, it's one of those comfortable edges that pretty simple for a top class grandmaster to nurse. But when you're playing a kid, you probably endgame technique is maybe rates to be the weakest part of his game. Generally, because he's a child. So you should just go for this. Better than the other one. Okay. Rook f1, right? Knight a6, knight d2. Yeah, you make him play chess. And in this one, I mean, now number one move is rook f1. That might be tough for a kid, or rook f3. The kid has to fade back. Or bishop f4 is another one. See, a kid like Kasparov is likely to play bishop f4 because it's a developing, aggressive move. But imagine that this is the number one. And now you play this position. I mean, isn't this better than the one that happened in the game? I mean, yes, you're suffering. You're suffering. You're suffering. But what does it want now? There are several moves. Rook d8, probably. Knight d7. Okay, rook f8. I mean, okay, you're suffering, but it's not like waxation, like total wax. The other one was hell on earth, wasn't it? I mean, would you rather have that position or this position? Or would you rather have this position? I mean, let's be honest. I'd rather suffer the other one because, I mean, the edge here is higher. Okay. But a beautiful attacking game from Kasparov. Maybe you guys never saw this game. Palatnik. Another game that really impressed me because he was young and he did it. Well, let's see if I can find it. Game with Pigusov. Evgeny Pigusov. This is a year earlier. Under 20 years old tournament. And this is relevant because a lot of people play this way with black pieces these days. So you will see this position in a lot of your games. You can get this all the time. Knight f8. And rook e1. This is a good key move to remember. I think you're trying to get knight e5 and f4 or something like this. Yeah. I don't like black's position. I don't like this opening for black at all in general, but people are very committed to it. So you should learn a line. And this one looks very good if you can get this position every time in your games. And of course, the rook on e1 is there. Why? To blast. And here you go. One lonely pawn on d5. And the bishop is clearly better than the knight. And you have an open f file, and f7 is sensitive. So if I had to guess, with two supercomputers, this is already 1-0. And it's probably almost a pawn advantage. I'm not sure. If we let this sit here for a while, maybe it gets up to 80% of a pawn, something. Yeah, it's going to keep rising. All right. Because you have all the statistical edges. Space advantage, weakness on d5, bishop better than knight. It should all add up to victory. Attacking h6, obviously. Luft, for a young guy, this is a really strong move for a young guy, especially. Look at this maneuver. I mean, he gave b2 So, I mean, this is weird because you would think that rook c3 is coming and you might not want to. But I guess he's just going to go queen e1 and then he'll come queen h4 anyhow. Bishop d3. Oh. Okay, so this is a move that it's very traditional to play rook f6 when h6 is hanging and you already have, so that's his main threat, and I guess he was setting it up for the longest. But look at these elegant little passing moves for a child. That's very rare. And now it's just over. You can't take that. You can't take that rook because queen h6 is immediate, lights out. Queen h6, queen h7, queen h8. Nothing to do. Wow. He's coming in. The queen is now hanging on a3. That's intermezzo. Now you can't take. Both rooks are. You can pick your rook, whatever one you want. Young Gary. These are great games to see, folks, from the ones from the 70s. The late 70s, mid to late 70s, where he is basically making a name for himself and he's taking a lot of scalps with a low FIDE rating. And, you know, as you go, a few years later, you see this crazy rating start to develop. See, there's no rating yet. There's no rating yet on any of these lists. And then all of a sudden, there it is, 25.95. Just, 25.45 out of the blue. But here in 79, it was still 2200. Isn't that crazy? Look, 2200, 2200, 2200, 2200, 25.45. Excuse me. What's my name? Weinstein.